All right. Welcome back to another episode of Humans of Flippa. I am your host, Steve McGarry, and today I am joined by Enric Pedró, and he is the founder of Wonderverse, and he recently sold a channel on Flippa, so we wanted to sit down and discuss it. So how you doing today, Henrik?
I'm good. Yourself?
Doing good, doing good. I'm excited
All
to
right.
unpack this, but before we do, let's
That's
get to your
good.
background. Let's talk about how you got started.
Yeah. So, long story short, I've been into the online digital space for my professional career for the last 15 years or so. I'm coming from the corporate world. So, I was managing teams up to 50 people on growth, mostly focused on mobile apps and mobile games, multi-million dollar budgets, running several teams across different games and whatnot. And long story short, about a year and a half ago, the office here in Barcelona, where I'm based, they shut down. So everyone was almost 90% of the people were laid off. So about 100 people almost. And I was left with a severance package and with the opportunity to decide if I wanted to keep within the quote unquote rat race or corporate role or give it a go to the online entrepreneur, which I saw many people doing well there. I'm always on my side as a hobby, or after the 9 to 5, I always try to do different pet projects, as in trying to learn about app development or doing SEO for some sites to drive some affiliate sales or doing drop shipping, but none of them did really well, or I didn't make much money out of it, but I learned a lot of experience, and that brought me. I still had a job to do to try some YouTube videos. Then again, I didn't expect much out of it, but then one video that I released went viral. It got several million views, and that was the holy S moment where I realized that you could make a lot of money out of these videos, and that's when I discovered YouTube, what's called YouTube automation or YouTube Faceless. And that's what brought me to decide that actually, you know what, I'm not going to look for a new job. I'm going to try to replicate what I did with that video and do more of that. And that's what led me after a few months to actually sell that channel.
Nice. Nice. So the goal originally was to kind of create multiple channels and then start selling them off like all together or just replace your income. Was that the kind of initial target?
Yeah, it originally was to replace my income. Just I had a severance package from when we were laid off, so I knew I had a run rate and see, okay, I'm going to try this for a few months. I never had the opportunity to actually invest my 9 to 5 time to actually, well, 9 to 7. I actually did many more hours than 9 to 5, to actually invest my brain power. Not being tired from working and then doing more work afterwards, but actually full time just doing my own thing. And I was like, it was a good opportunity for me. Like, you know what? I have a run rate for over a year, so I'm gonna see if I can exchange my time for actually making money out of something that I can do online. And it just happened that YouTube was the thing that I was actually working out decently, and it becomes something that worked out actually quite well.
Nice. Nice. So let's talk a little bit about the business model of Faceless YouTube. How does it work? Is it mainly based on, CPM on the views, or is it affiliate as well? Walk us through the business model.
Sure, sure, absolutely. So YouTube Faceless, essentially, as the name states, is uploading videos on YouTube. You can do shorts or you can do long form. Shorts is similar to TikTok. Long form is going to go from 4 or 5 minutes to up to an hour, 2 hours, and whatnot. And then it's called Faceless or automation. I prefer to use Faceless because there's nothing to, there's some automation, but actually there's a lot of work to be done there. But on the Faceless side, it's because I don't show my face. Actually, in the beginning, I used to use my voice, but then I changed that too. So you don't even know that Enric Pedró is behind that channel unless I was to tell you, hey, Steve, this is my channel and this is me. That's why it's called Faceless, because there is no face within that channel or video or the content that you're producing. So effectively, you are what's called in the media industry as an executive producer, because you're putting the money, you're paying someone to do the script, you're paying someone to put together the video, that's the video editor, you're paying someone to put together the thumbnail, and you are overseeing that package, which then gets uploaded, and in exchange you get, once you are monetized, there is a threshold for YouTube to actually start paying you, or Google to pay you through AdSense, which is the same that is being used to pay you if you have a website or an app through ads. Then you get paid a percentage out of every view. Well, it's called essentially in YouTube, it's called RPM. Um, so depending on the niche that you are doing, the more an advertising is willing to pay for your audience, the higher your RPM is going to be. I'm going to give you an example. It's not the same talking about finance or talking about real estate, because someone watching this type of content has potentially a lot of money, versus someone talking about Roblox, which probably is going to be appealing, or games, which is probably going to appeal to a younger audience, which they don't have much of an income. So essentially, an advertiser is going to dictate how much you're willing to pay for your audience, and in exchange, YouTube or AdSense, Google, is paying you a percentage out of those views.
Great explanation. And when it comes to
Thank
the
you.
milestones that you had, was it revenue based? Was it subscriber based? Was it engagement? What things were you tracking as you were
Yeah,
growing the
yeah,
channels?
absolutely. That's a good question. Subscribers are a vanity metric. Subscribers is just to get the plague. They send you a nice silver and then a gold plague when you get 100,000 and then a million. That's just to show off. That doesn't pay you money, right? You ultimately, or my goal, as I mentioned earlier, was to make an income out of this business. So I don't care how many subscribers I get. I care about how many views I get, because this ultimately is going to become eyeballs, ads that are being paid in exchange for those that audience that I'm attracting. Um, so the main metric is ultimately how much money I am making, or my business is making, at the end of the month. It seems obvious, but when I saw, and we can discuss about it later on, when I saw the hockey stick growth, that I was moving from $4, 5, $6,000 a month to 16, 18, 20,000, that is when I realized, okay, that might be a good time to sell, because I'm showcasing that this channel, this, sure, it comes along hand in hand with subscriber growth, but it's not related. I could have a month where I do not grow so many subscribers, but I release videos that are watched by many people who don't need to subscribe, yet they watch that video. Thus, it's gonna translate into AdSense paying me more money for that specific video. To give you an example, I have my best performing video ever, which was the one that I released. I think it was my 12th or 13th video. It reached up to, I think it was, right now it's about 4 million views, but I do not have 4 million subscribers. And that channel has about 150,000 subscribers. So one view doesn't equate to one subscriber. There is a correlation, but ultimately, again, what you're going after is as many views as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And were there any tactics that you use, like growth strategies or marketing strategies, that had like a big impact when it came to it? Was it tagging and the SEO? How did you make them get 4 million views?
Yes, that's a golden nugget. So whoever got to the point of listening to right now, they're getting actually good value from it if they're willing to get into the YouTube faceless business. I'm from the growth side. So as I mentioned earlier in my introduction, I manage teams up to 50 people, multi-million dollar budgets, yada yada yada. In the app world, and where I'm coming from, or where originally I was coming from, the mobile gaming space or app world space, there's something called App Store optimization, which is essentially which title you put on your app or game, which description you put, which keywords you use, how your icon looks like, how your screen looks like, and so on and so forth. That's from Google, right? That's Google Play. Same goes to App Store, Apple, but the concept is exactly the same. The same is applied to YouTube. What's your title? What's your description? What's your thumbnail looking like? Which one is getting you more clicks? So I try to apply the insights, or the knowledge or the know-how that I had from App Store optimization, or quote unquote SEO, to what is currently being applied on YouTube. So um, some people think that it doesn't make much of an impact, but it doesn't take me that much more time or effort to actually add tags. You have up to 500 characters of tags that you can add. YouTube says, hey, this doesn't help us much, but if you feel like adding them, do so. I always add tags. I always add at least 4 hashtags on my description. And then I always, when you have a chance, that's something that you get to unlock after what's called advanced features are available to you on your channel, I always A/B/C test my thumbnails and my titles. So I always have an idea, or I try to see what my competitors or similar channels are doing within that niche or the videos that I'm producing. And I say, okay, this angle or this title or this type of thumbnail seems to be working well. And then I try to apply my own spin to it. So there is a differentiation because I see many people who are within my business who just copycat literally word by word the same title, the same description, and the same thumbnail. And guess what? That does not work. What it works is that you get inspired by someone else who's doing well, or a video that might not be even within your niche but is doing well. That's the angle, right? And you apply it within your niche. And then the last thing that I learned coming from my corporate world was to, but the I think the sentence is niches riches are in the niches. So you need to niche down a lot. You can do, okay, I'm gonna do a YouTube channel about animals, right? Which animals? Dogs. Okay, which dogs? Small breed. Okay, which is small breed? The ones from originally from South America. I'm just making this up, right? I don't know if this is a good niche or not, but you need to niche down to a really sub niche, that because it gives you more visibility, because then YouTube / Google has a faster and better understanding of what your video is about, what your channel is about, and which audience is more likely to watch your video. And once you get more views and more subscribers and more engagement, is that when you can start expanding to, on this example, other types of dog breeds. Same as SEO, you keep opening different branches, so you can expanding up and until you can reach to all dogs, and then you can reach to other animals or pets that are not only dogs.
Nice. Very nice. I like that. Niching down to like a sub niche to get super specific, and that actually helps with the recommendation that Google's doing. That's great. So let's
That's
talk
right.
about the Flippa process. Like you kind of described, you started growing, you saw the hockey stick going up on this channel specifically, and you decided it was time to sell then. So how did Flippa kind of support you, and how was that process of onboarding?
To be honest, I was a bit lost on, okay, you don't, when is your first channel sell? You don't know what's the right price. How you know
Yeah.
how much you're gonna sell this for when you never sold anything before? You can scroll through Flippa, talk to other people in the industry. There are many theories about it. Flippa has a tool. Actually, they released it. I think it was a few weeks or if not a couple of months ago when I actually sold my channel, that gives you a range on what it, based on the metrics that you're providing, it gives you a range on what you think is going to be a good price for your asset. It could be a YouTube channel, it could be an app, it could be a website, so on and so forth. So I input my details there, and it gave me a range, which was a nice number to me. So then it's like, you know what? I'm gonna throw it to the wall and see if it sticks. And if someone actually agrees for that price, then I'm gonna sell the asset. And actually, I went through the process. I talked with one of the brokers who had a lot of many connections, and he said, "Hey, this is a really good asset. I honestly think in a couple of weeks you can actually sell this for your range, your desired range." And then, I think it took 4 days from me, from for Flippa to actually start talking about this asset to actually getting the one of the first offers, and then just having a back and forth with a new buyer or potential buyer. We got an APA or a purchase agreement in place, and the rest is history.
4 days. That's moving
Yes,
fast. That's
yes.
incredible.
It made me wonder afterwards if I sold it for not enough money. So actually, it was too really cheap. But then crunching the numbers and talking with my broker, it's the price seemed right. It was a good price to me as well. So we both depart with one with the money and the other one with the asset.
Nice. That's really cool. And also for everybody listening, this was one channel in Enric's portfolio. So the way to really maximize this is doing the portfolio approach, and selling off assets as they're kind of hockey sticking is a beautiful example of like offloading some risk and then investing that in the business and just sort of continuously growing this beautiful portfolio. So really, really well executed there. So with the broker, how did they support you throughout the process? They helped with the valuation. They helped sort of, I guess, validate the speed and the price, right? For what that deal was. What kind of things did they do to help?
Yeah, so they got me through the whole process. We actually had a call for about an hour or so, super casual on WhatsApp, nothing, fancy, whatnot. They guide me through, look, we sold these many channels. Your channel seems within this range. Actually, I had personally many questions about what we discussed earlier about valuation. How do I know that I'm selling my channel for the right rate? There is the multiplier. What's the right multiplier? Is a multiplier based on a monthly revenue or is it a yearly revenue? Then I learn afterwards that it's actually for a year revenue. So it's essentially how much money did your channel make in a year, and then you apply a multiplier to that. It's about from 1.2, I think, to 3.5. It depends on the niche. You bring a team on board or not, how competitive it is. There are many factors to account for, and then based on that, you get an evaluation of, hey, your channel, your asset is X amount of money, and from there, the broker told me, hey, I think I actually he has a Rolodex. His job is actually like someone who's selling a house or a car or any other asset. Their job is to actually get you the sale because they get obviously it's a business, they get a commission out of that. So to me, it was a no-brainer. I'm gonna let him lead the way. And yeah, as I mentioned just earlier, in 4 days, I had some people reach out to you, and one of them is like, hey, let me handle this, let me talk. I know which ones are because obviously there are some people who just want to get the insights on what this channel is and get you some to speak with them so they can try to get some um, details that maybe you don't share on the post, but then ultimately they never make an offer. So that hey, I know which persons are quote unquote legit or who actually is actually looking to buy an asset similar to yours, and there are no like time wasters. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, in 4 days, I was talking to someone who was ultimately the ultimate buyer.
Nice. And when it came to kind of make or break decisions with negotiating, when it came to the APA, because that's moving really quick, you met the buyer. How did you know they were the right buyer, and what kind of negotiating did you do with them?
So we went back and forth for a couple of days. He sent his APA and the purchase agreement. He had a few bullet points. I think outrageous. It's just you have to read through it and see what actually you're getting into or what you're agreeing to. One of the points that I had to push back, which is a no-brainer, is like, look, I'm doing my business right now is doing, I have other online assets, but my core focus is on YouTube. So I cannot agree to not produce any other YouTube content. I'm agreeing I'm not going to compete directly with the asset that I'm selling to you, but I cannot stop doing what I'm doing because I have other channels that are making money to me. It's like ultimately, if you can buy the other assets, but I'm selling you one asset. So there was this line that we had to change, like, look, Enric is allowed to keep doing YouTube as Faceless or other manage other YouTube channels. And the other point, which was important to him, and I totally get it, is that this was a turnkey operation where I was not only selling the asset, the channel, but I was selling as well the team or the contractors that I'm using. The script I mentioned earlier, what's YouTube Faceless? There is a script writer, there is a video editor, thumbnail maker, and so on. This team or their contacts, they were shared within the assets cell. Those the buyer could just keep up the operation as nothing has happened, right? I mean, obviously there is the expertise of the know-how of someone who has put out hundreds of videos, but if you're someone, it's giving you advantage against someone else who's just starting because you already have an A team that you know that they have been doing good content for the last couple of years, hence the results that this channel got, and now it's being handed over to someone else. Obviously, this has an impact on the price. If I said, you know what, I'm going to keep my team, I'm just selling you the asset, it's a different price because then they have to find a new editor, a new scriptwriter, and so on. And this actually is really important too within this type of operations.
Yeah, for sure. Passing over the team agreement as well is crucial for value. And I like the whole faceless model mainly because it is transferable. Like I talk about a lot on the podcast, is transferability is pretty much king. Like you have to be able to transfer something that's not directly attached to one individual. So I think it's a great model in that sense, even to the point where you kind of edited out your voice initially to change the voice so that it could be transferable in the future, which I like. So what kind of lessons did you take away from the sales process that other people listening could implement?
It's the most obvious one, but you want to sell the asset when it's going up, not when it's going down. And that's something that my broker told me. Look, your valuation is really good because you're showing the hockey stick growth, and right now you're selling at the highest point of revenue. If you're selling an asset that is going down or it has like an up and down, it's not a good story. Like then why? Oh, then you're selling the asset because the asset is being devaluated and you think it's gonna go bad, right? My point was like, look, this is going really well. I have many other assets and I just want some. I want some security within my future. And to me, right now is the best time to actually do this sell, and that was my rationale behind it. And it's actually something that if you explain to anyone else from the outside, it's like, yeah, that makes total sense. I understand, and that's why you want to always try to sell when it's going up or when you get the sense that actually you are on the tipping point or it's really hard for you to keep scaling further. Could have, by that point, I was releasing about a video every 2 to 3 days. That for long form, when it's a well-produced content, this actually is quite demanding. And I got to the point where I realized, look, if I want to keep scaling this further, I need to actually invest more time or actually get a virtual assistant or assistant or increase further my team to actually be able to scale this, produce more videos and so on. And you know what? I'd rather have more assets, more YouTube channels that are producing similar amount of money in that range, rather than having a huge channel and a smaller one. So to me, then it was the right time to sell. So to your question, I think it's first knowing the obvious, which is like sell when you're going up, not when it's going down, and two, have some sort of range where you feel like, hey, if I'm getting an offer for this range, then to me it's a good sell, and it allows me to do this or any other enterprise for X amount of time. Those it's probably a good option to entertain.
Yeah, de-risking your business
That's
long
right.
term is a great move. So emotionally, when you go through something like this, what were some of the sort of emotional roller coaster points, and how did your life sort of change? Because I know we talked about how the layoff happened and you jumped into this, and now you have like a substantial business with investment because you sold the asset and you're able to keep it running. So what was that like emotionally when you were going through the sale process?
Yeah, it's I didn't I didn't sleep well for a week because there is a because there is that so I'm gonna explain you why. There is a week after the APA is signed and you sign the contract and you agree that the sale is going to happen. There is a 7 day window where the AdSense, that is the account linked to the YouTube channel, needs to be transferred to the new owner. So that was the point, was like, look, if something wrong has to happen and it happens within this week, then I'm screwed, because then I don't know, whatever could happen. It's Google, right? You never know. A new video gets a copyright. It can happen. It doesn't happen often, but it could happen that a copyright is you get not a strike, but you get a copyright claim, or maybe all of a sudden the transfer, there is an error for whichever reason happens, and then you need to repeat it again. It didn't happen either. It's the likelihood of that happening is small, but emotionally, it was more of the like for me being nervous about it, because I really wanted to have the end, the last day to come and just actually get the asset out of my hands. Not because I thought it was a bad asset, it's just because I wanted to get over with it. There is something that it goes beyond my control. I'm giving away my team. I'm giving away my one of my best performing channels. So to me, the fact that maybe that Google, for some reason, which never happened, could just decide, hey, this is not going to happen. That was, it was a scary, well, not scary. It just keep back on my head, just keep thinking about it. So I couldn't sleep well, try to work out and, try not to think about it. But it's a big sell. It's a lot of money, so it's always in the back of your head. So I was actually really relieved or really happy when I saw that the transfer went through. The broker or Flippa, reassured me, hey, we've done this hundreds of times. It's really unlikely for anything bad to happen, but that doesn't stop you from being pessimistic. It's like, oh, what if this happens? Because actually, it's a lot of money, right? So that was emotionally, that was probably the worst part. Other than that, it's not my baby. It's You don't know it's Enric. You don't hear my voice. I have other channels as well. I treat it as another online asset. So it was a good run. I learned a lot out of that channel. It was a channel that actually allowed me to start doing this business and become an entrepreneur slash founder. So I'm really happy to see it go to someone else who's keen to just keep working on that asset and just hopefully keep growing and keep making money out of it.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the risk of Google because it's just this unknown sort of beast in the
Doesn't matter
background.
what policies you follow. Doesn't matter. Look, I love to read policies. I love to talk about them. Doesn't matter, dude. Like you never know what's gonna happen. So my niche or that niche is super safe, evergreen. It's highly likely that something bad is gonna happen. Yet you never know, right?
Yeah,
So
you
it's
never know.
as the it's a quote unquote black box. So it's part of the game.
Yeah, that's part of the game, part of the game. So for somebody listening, an entrepreneur that's listening to this and they're considering selling, what advice would you give them? And, would you do anything differently when you were going through the process?
No. If anything, look, why it was so easy for me to sell, it was because I did my homework when it came down to have all the documentation and all the assets ready for me to sell. I have a Dropbox, Google Drive, doesn't matter what you use. I have a Dropbox where I always keep all my files, my videos, my scripts, and my guides or the walkthroughs when a new team member was joining my channel team. I had, hey, you're a scriptwriter. Please read this Notion file. You a video editor, read this other file, and here's the channel overview. So all of that, it was a great package for me to just give away or give as a transfer, because that's something that a buyer for this amount of money, for substantial six figures app, is going to expect for you to provide. You're giving a turnkey operation. You're providing the contractors or the context, but you need to provide as well the know-how and all the assets that go behind and keep producing this type of content. And it goes with all the guides and all the workarounds that someone using or trying to keep growing this channel day to day requires. If you're not doing your homework and it's something that you have to put together out of a scratch, that's going to take you, a substantial amount of time. And it was something that I was really happy that, what, I'm actually I'm gonna just be keeping or hiding some of these assets. There are no use to me. Like the Notion, sure, I can just copy paste my Notion page to another page, right? But that's specific to that channel. I have other Notion pages from my other channels. So if anything, I would say anyone listening to us right now is to be organized. If you work in any business, it's super well, or you try to be as organized as possible. All the logins are there, all the contacts are there, all the guidelines are there, or there for anyone to check them if necessary. You want to do the same, even if you are a solo entrepreneur. You want to have some sort of organization, just in the case you ever get into this sell point, you can showcase that and pass it away. So you don't have to invest probably a week or 2 weeks putting all that together. Then it helped as well that I was willing to share my expertise or give to the new buyer a couple of calls about 45 minutes an hour just to guide their team through the whole process, just to be, hey, you have any questions, this is how I run them through from the idea inception down to when I released the video on YouTube. And that was really helpful to them as well, because even though you might have expertise or experience in managing other YouTube channels, every channel is its own beast or its own package or niche, if you will. And as such, it has its nuances that you don't know unless you made several videos or someone tells you how to put them together.
Got it. So going through the journey from corporate to entrepreneur running these portfolio of channels, has it changed your definition of success?
Absolutely, yes. um, uh, you know, I always thought I was really struggling with the fact that I was working these 9 to 5, 9 to 7, X amount of hours in someone else's business, managing big teams, learning a lot and having fun out of that. But after several different roles in big companies, I realized that it's an obvious thing. It's not my company. Despite getting stocks or phantom units or whatever you want to call it, once the sale happens, the asset of the sale happens, or an acquisition happens, or an investment happens, you're not reaping any of those benefits. Sure, you might get a bonus out of that, or some sort of like an additional an add-on on top of your salary. But the biggest prize is that of the founders or the founding team. The difference with being an entrepreneur with online business is that once you quote unquote crack the code. To me, it was once I realized that actually I could make good money out of my online expertise on my own or with a team that I'm hiring. Right now in 2026, for whoever is listening us, it's so easy to put it together. Like you don't need, obviously I'm going to go to the cliche of AI, but I'm going to give you an easy example. To me, putting a script together, when I started in this business about 2 years ago, that it was a pet project, just doing it out of fun and just to see what I could, what I learned. It took me about a day, like a full day, putting a script together, like me typing, getting the insights, trying to use ChatGPT and whatnot. Right now, with other tools, in 20 minutes, give or take, I'm going to get the exact same result, if not better. What point being is not that I got better. Sure, I learned some tricks and I learned some know-how, but the point is that we got to the point that it's so easy for you to produce this type of content. Not only YouTube, it could be YouTube, it could be an app, it could be a website, it could be any sort of an online business that it in the past couple of years ago, 3 years ago, used to take a lot of knowledge or insights in order to pull it together. Right now, you reduce so much the time and the requirements for you to be able to pull it off, that I would say for everyone listening to us right now, if they're still thinking about it, just give it a go and try to leverage the tools that you have available, and just approach some into it might be Claude, it might be Gemini Pro, it might be whichever tool of trade you feel like leveraging. Do so, but invest some money on leveraging those tools, because right now it's ripe for success.
Very cool. Well said. I like that. Going from a day to 20 minutes in
That's right.
producing the script. So the final question is, would you consider selling another channel in the future?
100% yes. If you want to acquire assets, hit me up. I have plenty of channels available. Jokes aside, yes, absolutely. I think it's the best means is to showcase that you have a growing asset. You have ultimately, I think it's not only about having call it a YouTube channel. You have an audience. You have an audience. You can pull together a website. You can put together a newsletter. You can funnel this audience to not only about AdSense and affiliates, but you can do many more things than just getting eyeballs to your videos. And that's something that is a skill that you can just keep replicating. And as such, when you're putting together these online audiences, ultimately, that's an audience that you put together. It's an asset that you should be willing to sell, because it probably has more value if you're doing the sell than if you keep growing it. So yes, if I had the chance, I hope, actually, let me rephrase that. I hope that I have the chance to sell it again, and I will definitely repeat it again with Flippa too.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, wherever you guys are listening on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube, you guys can check out all the links for finding Enric. And thank you so much for coming on the Humans of Flippa and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. It's really, really fun.